So when you sign into the Pearson Finance Lab, your screen is going to look very similar to what is displayed here. What I'd like you to do is take some time to click through the different menu items over on the left-hand side of the screen to kind of see what's available to you from a resource standpoint. A few of these things, of course, you're not going to be able to see. You won't obviously see instructor tools or anything that's copied from an old course, but the bulk of these items here will be within your view. And again, just a good idea to click through and see what all is here and available to you as a resource. So the material that we cover in this financial management course is challenging, and it takes repetition to really gain traction on understanding how it works, the ins and outs, being able to work different problems, seeing a problem stated in several different ways so you kind of know how to tackle it. And the study plan area is one thing that we'll cover in depth here in just a moment. But again, this is just a way to see from a high view what are the resources that you have at your disposal and how can you use them best to accommodate your study habits and how you go about approaching the material. First one we'll look at real quick is just the assignments link. And this is where you'll work through your homework assignments, your quizzes and exams and those sorts of things. But you're going to notice right off the bat that when you click on one of these links, so this one is all assignments, so this includes all the homework and all the quizzes that are available to take right now. But you're going to notice that not everything here is going to be available as far as what you see on your assignment schedule. So the assignment schedule and due dates sheet that you'll have in My Courses has all of the assignments for the course listed on there, and of course they're loaded into the calendar view of your My Courses as well as far as the due dates. But here you're going to notice that just the first, usually a week or two, are available at a time, and they become available and open up in the lab as we progress through the semester. So right off the bat, we see that as far as assignments go, we've got really just the first week right now is available to view, and week 2 will open up within a couple of days for you to be able to see or start working through those problems as well. So that's the assignments link. The second one here is the study plan. The study plan menu, now the study plan is essentially a way for you to get extra practice working problems. So every homework, or I should say every problem that's at the end of your textbook chapters is loaded into the study plan. And incidentally, homework assignments and even exam homework type questions are also pulled from the same pool of questions. And you've got now, the study plan view has been reworked very recently, so it's presented a little bit differently. You used to be able to just click into all chapters and view every single question that was part of each particular chapter. Now the way it works is when you click on all chapters, of course it's going to list all the different chapters of the text. And we're not going to cover all of these, but just to give you an example, if you click on to chapter 5, it lists out the learning goals for the chapter. And when you click on any particular learning goal, let's say we want to look at future value and present value, these are the particular problems that are related to that learning goal that you can work additionally for extra practice. Now again, these questions are drawn from the end of the chapter questions in your textbook. Now, all of them are here. This just happens to be chapter 5. But now they're broken up by learning goal. So if you click onto a different learning goal, you're going to have a different set of questions that are applicable to this learning goal for chapter 5. And if you just clicked on any one of these questions, you can get started with working the extra problem. You'll have them all up here as well that you could get quicker access to instead of having to go to the previous page. Or you could just cycle through left to right to go question by question. Note too that the learning tools are here in the question help box. So there are a couple things in your My Courses menus that I've talked about, the different learning question help tools. You've got view an example where it's going to essentially take you step by step how to solve the problem. Text pages, you've got the financial calculator here as well that is kind of the recommended, or at least my recommended way of handling time value of money problems. And you've got an Ask My Instructor link. So if you've worked through the problem, you're really stuck and you need some help, essentially you can click on the Ask My Instructor link. It'll send me the problem. You can make some notes in there as far as what you're getting or what your issue is, and I can help you with essentially get unstuck with where you're at in the problem. But we'll close that out. And one other thing I wanted to mention about the study plan is mastery points. As you'll notice here in this particular view, you've got mastery points earned, of course, 0, 1 available, 0, 6 available. So it has mastery point availability noted. There's 109 for this chapter, or actually for all of the chapters combined. But this is not something that you need to be concerned about with this course. The mastery points are a way for the lab to help you make progress and essentially get through the material so that you get some sort of quote unquote mastery of each particular topic. But you are not going to be graded or judged upon how many mastery points you've earned out of what's available. Again, this is just a resource that if it helps you, then by all means use it as far as the lab goes, but it's not going to be something that's going to be counted towards your grade. So, and you'll see mastery points noted elsewhere in these other links in the study plan. You've got some different practice question links that you can go through here, quiz me links that you can do as well for different learning goals or chapters. If you look at the progress link, you've got 109 total mastery points available throughout the entire study plan, which includes all of the different chapters of the textbook. We're going to cover 10 chapters total, even though there's 19 total in the book. So that's the study plan. In the past, with the study plan, if you worked correctly additional problems, you would get extra credit towards your final course grade. There's really a big reason why you were essentially motivated to work extra problems for that extra credit. And that was really to get extra practice to do better on the exams. The exams are challenging just because the material's challenging, and just working the homework problems alone for the vast majority of students is not sufficient to do well on the exams. So what the study plan section of the lab was meant to do was to get that extra practice, get that repetition that's needed to perform better in an exam environment where you're not getting as many pointers like you would in the homework assignment. The homework assignment is going to tell you right or wrong as you go through the problem, and the exam essentially won't do that. You're going to work the entire problem in the exam and not necessarily know if step A was correct or B was correct. It's something that you have to get more comfortable with through repetition. So that, again, is the study plan section. And when it comes to working extra problems, you're still, of course, encouraged to work extra problems. But what I've done is I've created some test prep assignments that are counted towards towards your final course grade. They're not considered extra credit, but together they make up 10% of your course grade. So you'll see that the test 1 prep assignment has 50 questions, whereas the test 2 prep assignment has 65 questions, some of which are videos. And those together, your performance on those test prep assignments will make up 10% of your course grade, which really gives you more incentive to work through those test prep problems and to be better prepared to do the exams, as opposed to leaving it open-ended for extra credit in the study plan, which unfortunately most students didn't really take great advantage of. The next link below is the results page. This is where you should be able to see how you did on different homework and quiz test assignments. Of course, when it comes to tracking your progress in the course, you want to use the My Courses gradebook, not the lab. So the points that are associated with each assignment are noted in the gradebook of the My Courses page. So what you see on the lab, the points should correspond pretty closely, but what happens is when your scores from the lab are loaded into the My Courses gradebook, the weightings then get applied. So you'll see when you look through the syllabus or look at the assignment schedule page menu in My Courses, that there are different weights assigned to the different categories of assignments that you'll do in the lab. So the exams, for example, are 50% of your course grade. 2 exams, and again, 50% of your course grade. So the 50% weighting gets applied once the scores are transferred over to the My Courses gradebook. Pearson e-text, so this is literally an electronic text of your actual book that you bought for the course. If you like to use this as a resource as far as reading the chapters, you can do it this way, but one nice thing about this is just to use that as a reference. So some of the problems, like you saw in the study plan a little bit ago, is it has a reference to the text, basically just the e-text. That's one of the help tools in the question help menu that you can leverage if you are still not quite understanding how a solution was obtained. Multimedia library. So this is a way that you can just sort via chapter. Chapter 5, just again, as an example, you can look at videos. You have some videos that are actual assignments for the class. And typically each chapter, there's some assigned videos, but you can actually view all the videos, even the assigned ones, by just going into this multimedia library. There's different financial calculator, solutions, animations, all sorts of stuff that you can look through on your own just to gain some extra practice with the particular topic that you're working with, or learning goal that you work with in the study plan. So this here for time value money, and there should be a reference to it in the My Courses, one of the My Courses pages, as far as the financial calculator toolkit. But these are some tutorials that you can leverage for different things that you work with in the time value money chapter. So these are great tutorials, and then some videos as well that will help kind of reinforce your knowledge of working with the calculator. And speaking of calculator, one of the next items here is an actual financial calculator. So the course recommends that you have a Texas Instruments BA2 Plus calculator handheld, and I definitely still prefer or hope that you have one. You can buy them at really any discount retailer or online, and typically they're around $30, but it's good to have a handheld just in case for some reason if the technology failed you, you'd have just a backup available. But this is the financial calculator, or one of the ways you can get to the financial calculator when you're working problems in your homework assignments or your exams or the study plan, or extra problems that you can get through the study plan or the test problems. The financial calculator is not loaded into the quiz assignments, so you won't see the financial calculator tool within the quiz assignments. But again, there's another way that you can get through to tutorials. If you like the HP 10B2, there's some tutorials there, but the recommended one for the course is the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus. These are tutorials, another way to get to the tutorials. But here is the actual financial calculator that's used in the lab. And you can minimize this screen. Well, let me do it on the video, but you can shrink this screen so that you can have the calculator essentially in view along with the problem that you're working over here. And then you can just simply work with the calculator and solve the problem, keep it up at all times. If you'd like, you can just reset it if you want to as you move to the next problem or as you work forward through the problems. But this is just, again, another way that you can get through or get access to the financial calculator. And this is ultimately the one, even though you will hopefully have a handheld as well, this is the one that I think is just by far the easiest way to use, because it's right here on the screen and you can have it right next to the problems that you're working. And it also shows you the inputs up here on the top, which your handheld won't. So again, this is one way to get to the financial calculator. Another way is when you are, I could go through one of the assignments, or I'm just going to go through the study plan to get to some of the different problems. But another way to get to the financial calculator is just when you're actually working problems. Again, this can be within a homework assignment, this can be within the test prep assignment, or any of these study plan problems. But if you click on any particular question, then click on the question help menu, then you have access to the financial calculator here as well. And there it is. And this is, again, you can just shrink it up, have it open next to the problem that you're working, read through the problem, start inputting the the different figures, solve it, punch in the number here, check the answer, and just move forward. You can reset the calculator and start with the next problem. So excellent resource to have. And I'll stress again, good to have the Texas Instruments BA2 Plus handheld as well, and good to know how to use that. Not a lot of difference there between the on-screen calculator that I just had up versus the handheld, but definitely good to have both and understand how to use both of them. The dynamic study modules here, this is a way that you can access all the different modules. These are assigned throughout the course, and you'll see them populate in the homework assignments. But this is another way that if you want to work through them again, just to get practice, or maybe you're studying for an exam, another way that you can get access to them to work through the different dynamic study modules. So once you read a chapter, then really the next best item, possibly some of the videos that are assigned as well, but really before you do the homework and before you do the quiz, what you want to do is work through the dynamic study module. And what this does is just kind of get a feel for, help you understand how much you've retained from the reading of the textbook. So as you read a question, I think this one said there was 31 questions total, but so which of the following positions typically reports to the chief financial officer? So as you did your reading, you thought, well, I think it's probably the controller. You click on the controller, and you can click on it just once if you're somewhat comfortable with the answer, or click on it twice if you're very sure of the answer. Then when you hit submit, it's going to tell you, yep, you were sure and you were correct. You click on the next question. Let's say that we thought this particular question was going to be a answer of a dividend payment, but we're not 100% sure. So we click on it once. Actually click on it twice to submit it. And see, we were sure, but we were incorrect. So the system will take you back to a question that's similar to this as you move through the dynamic study module, with the whole point of being that you're going to see this question phrased a few different ways until it finally clicks and you can kind of demonstrate some mastery of that particular topic. So if we click on the next question, it's going to go to something different, but the system will bring you back to that last question in some fashion, probably going to be phrased a little bit differently, but it's going to bring you back there until you kind of demonstrate some mastery of that particular topic or question. The other option, of course, is you could say that you don't know and just move on. But what it's trying to do is, especially if you click I don't know on something, it's trying to get you to go back into the textbook and kind of brush up on maybe an area that you maybe glossed over, or just forgot, or just didn't sink in quite as well. So with the one-click option, this is where I was essentially trying to show you that you could narrow it down to maybe a couple different question answers. Maybe you think it's between these two answers that is most likely the solution. You're just not really sure which. And you could submit it. Both obviously going to be a final option. One of them is correct, but it's up to you to circle back to this type of question and figure out which one via your reading in the textbook, or kind of going back to the textbook and seeing which of the answer you narrowed it down to is actually the correct one. So let's say that after consideration you thought that it might be this one. It's not going to let you really click back on anything. It's just going to, again, make you go to the next question, but it's going to circle back to that last question in some fashion, probably going to word it differently. But until you can answer confidently that same type of question and submit it and get it correctly, that's when it's going to essentially count it as a mastered topic and move forward to the next one. Okay, so a little while on the dynamic study model. Again, this is a way that you can gain access to it. outside of the homework problems that are already assigned, but you'll run through and that's exactly the view that you saw working through the problems is going to how it's going to will be how it looks as you're working through the assigned homework problems as well. So those are the main things to point out to you. Definitely, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a message. The quicker you get comfortable with these options, or really just the Pearson Finance Lab in general, the more comfortable you're going to be working through assignments, leveraging the resources, especially the question help tools when you're actually working a problem. So don't procrastinate, don't waste any time. Once you get access to the Pearson Finance Lab, jump in there and see what all is here. Click on every menu, see what you have available to you so that you can start formulating a way that you will proceed through the material. There's quite a few assigned homework and quiz problems or assignments, but there's some flexibility in how you approach them. So, for example, a chapter 1 and a chapter 2, you're gonna have a chapter 1. All the chapter 1 work's gonna be due on the same day. All the chapter 2 work's gonna be due on a separate day. So you can decide what order you want to go through them in. So do you want to, after you read the chapter, of course, that's the most important thing, is to read through it carefully. But do you want to do the quiz first? Do you want to do the dynamic study module first, the homework first? It's really up to you. I would certainly tell you to make sure you look at the weighting of each assignment, because the homework's the most heavily weighted. It's more heavily weighted than the quizzes. It's way more heavily weighted than the dynamic study modules and the videos, the media assignments. So take that into consideration, but you have some flexibility with how you approach the material and how you do, or what order you do the different assignments in. Once again, don't hesitate to email me and let me know what questions you have. And hopefully this was helpful in just kind of giving you a brief introduction to the system and what's available to you as you work through the course.